More than just a number. Nebraska and Alabama are currently the only two states that have laws making it illegal for certified nurse midwives to attend home births. Nebraska and Alabama. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. What does it matter if midwives can attend home births? It's much safer to go to a hospital anyways. Why would any woman want to stay home when they had the technology of the hospital so close? Wrong. There are two major problems with this argument. First, the issue of women's rights. Mothers should be allowed to choose where they would like to give birth, whether or not it is the safest environment. If a female wants to give birth at home, not allowing a midwife to attend makes the birthing process much more dangerous. So the logical reason is to allow midwives to attend home births. The second issue is the medicalization of birth. I first became interested in this issue after watching The Business of Being Born. This is a great documentary, and I suggest everyone should watch it. Coming from a fairly progressive household, I was often well ahead of my time on important feminist issues. Even so, I always assumed that if I had children, I would give birth in a hospital. I was never aware that any other place was a possibility. Midwives just seemed medieval to me. We had moved on to bigger and better things. The birthing process was never an interest. I never asked questions or inquired about it. Through cultural norms, I somehow learned that giving birth in a hospital was a natural way to give birth. That is, until I watched The Business of Being Born. The reason this movie was so influential in my life was how much it took me by surprise. I was shocked at the fact that I was not aware having a home birth was even a possibility. It made me wonder how many women even knew there is an alternative to hospitals. If they did know, how many are put off by misbeliefs about home births and the dangers that are associated with it. After watching the movie, I knew if I ever became pregnant, I would be having a home birth. There was no question in my mind. In fact, I don't understand why more people refuse to have home births. And then I learned that Nebraska has laws against midwives attending home births. In Nebraska, midwives may only practice under a licensed practitioner. This makes it hard for them to find jobs, as they are often not seen as necessary. The midwives that do find jobs feel as if they cannot support legalizing home births in fear of losing their job. I decided something needed to be done, so I joined the group Nebraska Friends of Midwives. Through this group, I learned all kinds of information about the misconceptions of home births. Currently, the United States has an infant mortality rate of about 6.06%. This is one of the highest infant mortality rates of any developed country. And guess what? Where do you think most other people in developed countries give birth? If you said hospital, you are in fact wrong. In most other countries, women stay at home to give birth. Unless there are pre-existing conditions that could complicate the birth, an advanced technology may be needed. In the United States, most women go to the hospital to give birth, and women who do stay at home are out of the norm. The Midwife International says that up to 3.6 million deaths could be avoided each year if midwifery services were upgraded. 3.6 million deaths. Capitalism. The American way. Trying to make as much as possible while doing the least amount of work. What could represent capitalism more than trying to make money off of women giving birth? They are in a compromised state of mind, unable to think rationally, and in pain. The perfect situation to take advantage of someone. And this is just what hospitals do. Often, the belief is that Pitocin epidural, induced labor, and C-sections are done out of necessity. Really, though, it is because of capitalism. Hospitals want to get you in and out as quick as possible. The more babies they deliver, the more money they make. This can be seen by the amount of drugs women are given during labor, or the amount of C-sections that happen. Labor is a long process. Unless you are lucky, it does not happen within an hour. Some births can take over 24 hours. According to MNT in the article Avoiding Induced Labor is More Beneficial to Mothers and Babies, the number one reason for induced labor is convenience. Doctors want to deliver the baby right on the spot and be done with it. Why not speed up the birthing process? Having a quick labor seems like the best solution for both parties. Induced labor, they said. It will be fun, they said. At first, induced labor may seem more convenient and less painful. However, it often causes other complications, which in turn cause other medical interventions. It is often hard to tell when a mother is actually ready to give birth. According to the Lemes International, a mother goes into labor only when everything fits together. Your baby, your uterus, your hormones, and your placenta all need to be ready. When everything happens natural, the baby usually ends up healthier. Recent research has found that labor-inducing drugs have an impact on breastfeeding as well. Once you start medicalizing the birthing process, it is a downward spiral from there. Once labor has been induced, the rates of C-section skyrocket. 1/3 of all births end in a C-section. 0.04% of mothers die from C-sections compared to 0.01% who die from vaginal births. C-sections is a major surgery, and like any surgery, there are risks involved. Mothers who undergo C-sections are more likely to need blood transfusions and stay in the hospital for more than a week. Infants have a higher risk of death and have a low birth weight. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying C-sections should never be used. However, we should be more informed and thoughtful about when using them. They should be a last resort instead of an everyday norm. These are just a few reasons that midwives should be allowed to attend home births. So get involved with Nebraska Friends of Midwives. Join their next protest. Why? Because we are young and rebellious and want to fight for our rights.